Good evening, everyone. How are we this evening? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Mel Stevens, and I'm with you today, unfortunately 3 days late. I'm very sorry about that, but I'm with you today to share another video about my life experiences and everything. So this week I'm going to thank my friend Cherie Murphy for her video request, and she has asked a very interesting question, which is, how did you go making friends at school? So that's a really good question, actually, because I know a lot of vision impaired kids and people have trouble sometimes making friends, and sometimes, they're really good at it. And it's very interesting that she's asked me this question. So, first of all, as you all know, and I've said this multiple times now, I went to mainstream school. I was with sighted kids from 9 o'clock to 3:30 every day, and they just had to sort of deal with it. They just had to be used to me. But at the same time, I also did do a lot of programs for vision impaired and blind kids. I did camps through Guide Dogs Victoria on the school holidays. I went to Support Skills, which was a day program twice a term. I would have a Friday off school, and I used to go down to Melbourne to the blind school in Burwood and do a thing called Support Skills, which was where you learn about Braille and you learned about accessible technology and all those things. So I not only was with my sighted peers, 5 days a week for 6.5 hours a day, but I did also have a lot of exposure to the blindness community. And I think making friends doesn't really matter whether you're in the sighted community or the blindness community. It just is all about personality. I mean, I think that being blind and not being blind isn't really going to make a difference to whether you're friends with someone or not. Either you get on with them or you don't. I have what I feel to be a healthy mix of both blind friends and sighted friends. I have sighted friends who are both older and the same age and a little bit younger, some of them. And I have blind friends who are older and the same age and a little bit younger as well. So, and a lot of my friends, I'm still friends with quite a number of kids that I went to guide dog camps and support skill programs with when I was a kid. But I'm also still friends with kids that I went to school with. So that's kind of a good thing. I am in my 6th year post-finished secondary school, and I think I can safely say I'm still friends with at least, I would say, between 5 and 10 kids that I went to high school with, and probably 3 or 4 of those kids are kids that I went to primary school with as well. Being in a small country town, we all ended up going to a lot of us ended up going to the same high school and the same primary school. So that's sort of like a general how friends work for me. Personally, I'm not a massive people person. I can be invited to parties or stuff like that, and I don't really like being in massive groups of people. I like hanging out with maybe, a small group of friends, sort of 3 or 4 friends at the one time, and, that to me is a good amount of company. So, I don't very often go to parties. I don't very often do massive, huge social things. I do, go out with friends and stuff, but not massive, on a massive scale. As for how I went actually making friends when I was at school, I don't know, friendships just kind of happened. You know, I've been friends with one girl who I'm still really good friends with since we were in about grade 3 or grade 4. So, you know, we started hanging out in primary school. We ended up going to the same high school. We were in a lot of the same classes at high school. We finished high school a year apart because I stayed back in year 12, which I'll discuss in another video. But, you know, we're still friends and we still see each other. Another friend, actually the one who requested this video, Cherie, her and I met in year 7 at high school and we're still friends, you know, today. So that's really great. The one thing I would say that I found difficult about friends in high school was, and high school especially, was I felt that people pretended to be my friends. So I had a lot of people who, you know, a lot of kids who I used to talk to and stuff, but I would say out of all the kids that spoke to me at high school, I'm probably only friends with a quarter of those kids now because, you know, you would talk to them, but you're not really actually friends with them and stuff. And my other problem I had with friends at high school was, you know, I was a single child of parents who were not much older, but who were definitely older than a lot of my friends' parents. So, and I was therefore a lot more older than, you know, I acted and I felt a lot more older than a lot of my peers. So that also made it hard because, you know, the kids would be talking about like Miley Cyrus and, you know, all these kind of teenage things that were really cool at the time, you know, for teenagers. But, I mean, I didn't know what they were talking about. And it took me until I was in, like, my last year of school to even know what there was something, you know, there are a lot of social, like, common social things at the time when I was growing up that I just never had an interest in. I didn't even know what some of the things were that a lot of the kids talked about. And I was very... I mean, my cousin once said that I was 13 going on 30. And, you know, I think she was right because, you know, because I did have that older, you know, those older parents, and I spent a lot of time... I also spent a lot of time, you know, at home in my own world and in my own head. So I didn't really, I didn't really, not that I didn't get on with the other kids, but I just didn't understand a lot of the social things that the other kids used to talk about. I mean, and I did get on with a couple of kids, and as I said, I've still got probably 4 or 5 kids that I met in high school that I'm still friends with today. But I had a very hard time, especially when we were still at school, maintaining relationships with them, I thought, because I wasn't as interested in all the things that they were interested in. Like, I was a member of the, you know, the production, and a lot of the a lot of the theatre kids were into Buffy and, like, what's that thing, vampire, like, I don't know, just vampire Buffy and all those things. And, I mean, I didn't even know it, like, what it was, and so I had a lot of trouble, like, being kind of involved in their conversations. And these were kids that I wanted to be friends with, but I had a lot of trouble being involved in the conversations with the other kids who I was in production with, because they used to talk about all these, like, Buffy and weird, like, stuff that I wasn't into, and that I really couldn't get into, because at the time, you know, if I wanted to watch TV shows like that, I needed audio description. And they just didn't have audio description on those kinds of things. So, and they probably still don't. So to know what was going on in, particular episodes, I just didn't know what was going on, so I couldn't really, talk to the other kids about it and everything like that. So I was, I think the others thought I was probably quite boring when it came to the TV shows that I watched and the things that I liked, so far as that was concerned, because, I didn't have access to those sort of things because they weren't audio described, and I didn't have the ability to see them. So I think that's virtually it. The other thing I didn't mention was I used to get pretty sick of being around people all the time, because I was definitely a loner at school. I mean, 99% of the time I used to sit on the stairs near the staff room. It sounds really sad saying it now. I used to sit on the stairs near the staff room and just read a book or play on my computer or write or, do things like that at recess and lunchtime, because I didn't really want to hang out with the other kids very much, and I didn't feel like it was something that I was capable of doing, and it just got so, by the time I'd been in class for sort of 2 periods, I just wanted time on my own as well. So, yeah, so that's virtually it. So, I hope that you guys liked this video. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to put them up, and I will speak to you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.